It's almost 2 years since the first, well, they were then unknown cases of COVID-19 arose in China. Worldwide now, 250 million cases have been recorded, leading to 5.1 million lives lost. The pandemic, of course, has upended the world socially, economically and politically. China ducked and weaved, deflecting blame, still is, refusing to acknowledge the origins of the virus or help to find the original source. The lab leak theory was exposed thanks to hard work and dedication from a handful of journalists, none more so than our own Sharri Markson via her reporting for The Australian, The Daily Telegraph and Sky News, her documentary and the book by the same title, What Really Happened in Wuhan. So Sharri's now been invited to address a US congressional hearing to outline her revelations. Sharri joins me ahead of that address, which is happening early tomorrow morning. Thanks for joining us again, Sharri. This must be quite an imposing engagement to share what you know with the Congress.
Thank you so much, Chris. It is humbling. I'm still working on my speech. I'm writing it this afternoon. Like any journalist, you leave everything until the last minute, irrespective of how important it is. But no, I'm very honoured to be invited to do a congressional briefing and to address members of Congress. I understand there will be some members of Congress and some advisors and staff as well, and they're understood to be on both sides of the political divide, some Democrats and Republicans. So I think one of the points that I am going to make is that this isn't a political issue. This isn't a political witch hunt. This needs to be treated as a bipartisan issue in order to properly investigate and get to the bottom of what happened in Wuhan, whether this pandemic did result from a laboratory leak, but also, really crucially, just opening up that whole can of worms that was the United States funding of the research at the laboratory. There hasn't been an investigation into this in the United States, partly because they have treated this as a political issue, and so the Democrats haven't come on board. And that's one of the messages that I think I'm going to be urging and sending tomorrow morning our time.
Yeah, congratulations. It is an honour, and it's great recognition of the groundbreaking journalism that you've pursued on this over a year and a half. What do you hope to come out of it? The trouble is, of course, as soon as you play into a political debate, as you mentioned there will be attempts from both sides to score political points out of this, when what we really need is to get to the truth, and more pressure from Washington on Beijing to get to the truth. Are we getting any closer to that?
Look, we are getting closer to it, but, it's through the fact that some lawsuits to get access to documents through the Freedom of Information Act in the United States are being fruitful, that some of them are successful. So just last week, a not-for-profit group in the United States called White Coat Waste, and you would have seen them in the news recently because they've exposed Anthony Fauci's funding of really dangerous experiments on dogs, on beagles, shocking animal cruelty. But they also took the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, to court, and they managed to get hold of a batch of FOIs. This latest batch, for example, includes an email from Peter Daszak, who's from the EcoHealth Alliance. He was funding the Wuhan lab through a sub-grant from the NIH. And in this email, he says to a senior NIH employee in 2016, "That's terrific news. Thank you for lifting our ban on gain-of-function research." So, you're starting to see here that while Fauci has denied that they were funding gain-of-function, you have this email from Peter Daszak, who is providing the sub-grant to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, saying, "Thank you for allowing us to do gain-of-function research." So in answer to your question, every day we are getting more detail that just exposes how highly dangerous the research on coronaviruses was that they were doing in that Wuhan lab, often with international funding, and yet no oversight.
You stunned everyone getting an interview with former President Donald Trump for your documentary. Boy, I would pay good money to see you grill Dr. Fauci. We'll wait on that one. Good luck tomorrow morning, Sharri, and we'll let you get back to drafting your speaking notes.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Sharri Markson there. I'll tell you what, her journalism on this has been astounding. Let me just remind you that a year or so ago, when she was breaking stories about this, pointing to the likelihood, not the proof, the likelihood that this coronavirus that's done so much damage had actually escaped from that Wuhan Institute of Virology, the publicly funded ABC devoted not one but two segments from Media Watch decrying her reports. It is anti-journalism they were pushing at the ABC, trying to shut down Sharri Markson. Now, not only have her book and documentary done so well, she's been called to present what she knows to the US Congress. The ABC ought to apologise and jump on board and do some reporting like this.